Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition. It's a Monday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have JC and we'll have Scott Carter. Got a lot to talk about, a lot of college football, a lot of NFL. You got two games tonight, by the way. You got Redskins and the Bengals, and then you got the Buffalo Bills and JC's Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go to the Titan of our hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. JC,
all right,
how you doing? I see you. You did not wear that Rams hat in the first half, I promise you.
Well, luckily there's 4 quarters in the game. QB, who is the first quarterback in the NFL to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns so far this season in one game?
I don't even know.
Andy Dalton.
Oh, the Red Rocket.
The Red Rocket comes out and explodes against the Raiders. Unbelievable day yesterday, really, in the NFL, QB. 14-point comeback for the glorious Rams. 3 starters on the offensive line. Kupp and Nakua on IR. 2 scoring drives in the final 3 minutes, and they beat the hated 49ers who had a lot of injuries on their own. And it's really great, QB. It's really great to finally see Aiden Mizell joined the Florida Gators for the 2024 season. It was wonderful to see him play. It's great that they could let him loose a little bit against a team that quite honestly might be one of the worst teams I have seen in the Southeastern Conference since the 70s. They don't tackle. That was really, really bad. That was a lot worse than what I think Bo Bounds had told you about the week before, QB. But hey, don't take anything away from the Gators. I'm not doing that.
You had to win the game.
Dear God, I mean, Mississippi State.
I talked about Samford being one of the worst FCS teams I've seen, especially their program. I'm telling you right now.
Wow.
You had to win the game.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know if I've ever seen. They were so unsound. They were so unsound on defense. Some of the stuff they did, I could not believe what I was witnessing.
Yeah.
Mississippi State they're like a 38-point underdog this week to Texas.
Yeah.
Then they got to play Georgia. Then they have to play Tennessee, Ole Miss. I mean, look,
2 and 10.
They're going to be 30 to high 30-point underdogs in every game they play from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a 1-11, 2-10 team. It's really a shame.
Yeah, they may beat UMass, but it was they're bad. They're bad. I think Jeff Levy and their quarterback was hurt. I kept saying it during the telecast. I'm like, look, man, this dude's hurt. Well, Blake Shapen's out for the year. He's having shoulder surgery.
Yeah,
I could tell he was hurt. I don't know why they kept playing him, but
they have no players.
State, they have nothing, and it's bad. It is bad in Starkville. Mike Leach passing away really hurt that program. They had it rolling. Yeah. And then they hired Zach Arnett for some reason. And he just dismantled the air raid. He was there 1 year, and Levy's got his hands full. But I think he'll get his right type of players in there. I think he will change his entire defensive staff, quite honestly. I know for a fact I think he's going to do that.
He wants
but
to
a good win for the Gators.
Yeah.
Yes, Aiden Mizell, who I've been asking for him to play since August. Because here's what I like to tell people. I don't care how big you are as a receiver, any of that stuff. I need a dude that I can throw a slant or a shallow cross to, and he can make people miss. And, your stat line's going to, 85-yard completion where you threw it 5 yards. That's when you know you have dudes. He's a dude that should have been playing and starting from day one at the wide receiver position because he can do that.
He's a Ricky Pearsall.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. He's just a fast guy. He has reminded me when those 3 freshmen came in, it was Eugene Wilson, Trey Wilson, if people don't know who Eugene is, Trey Wilson, Mizell, Andy, Gene.
Yeah.
I said they all reminded me. I didn't say they were going to be, but they reminded me of Ike Kwesi and Riedel. Because if you look at Trey Wilson, he and Tank Hawkins remind me so much of Jaquez Green, the way they're built. But anyway, good win for the Gators.
Yeah.
They get a week off.
Yep.
They'll have UCF, the #1 rushing team in America, rolls in here in 2 weeks. So here's what's crazy. JC.
Yes.
Arizona State, I think, gave up 24 yards rushing to the Dogs. Toledo gave up like 60 to Mississippi State. We gave up like 240.
Yeah.
We're bad. We're bad on defense, folks. Been saying it for years.
It is true. It is true. I mean, it's just obvious if you watch that game. If they run in that A and B gaps, they didn't really. I was thinking to myself, why doesn't Mississippi State just keep doing this and save that quarterback who you say was hurt from the beginning of the game?
Well, he was part of their run game. That's the thing. He got hurt running the football.
Yeah, and that's typical. I mean, we saw Graham Mertz take a hit last year and hurt his shoulder. I just think that you're right. If they can't figure out a better way to gum up the line at the line of scrimmage, UCF's going to have their way with them, and that's what we know is coming.
Justin says here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. QB, I know you talk about our defense personnel being the reason our run defense is so bad, but how was Toledo and Arizona State able to hold Mississippi State to under 80 yards and Florida gives up 250? Look, it's both. Look, again, they were going so fast a few times, and we had Desmond in there. I'm thinking, why is he in the game? I don't care if you put a backup fullback in there. Put somebody in there that can move.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to some of the text on the Titan More text line. Okay. This is from Jimmy, and I wanted to bring this up, Jimmy. He says, Shane, did you see the videos of the Morgan Wallen concert at Neyland Stadium? I did. So JC, I know you don't follow Morgan Wallen. You probably don't even know who Morgan Wallen is, but so, they had this 100,000 people at his concert Saturday and Sunday nights at Neyland Stadium.
Yeah.
So he comes out of the locker room kind of like a boxer to his Broadway girl song, and he usually has celebrity type people. Well, he had Tony Vitello and the entire, like a lot of the baseball team with their trophy on Saturday night coming out. Last night, he had Josh Heupel, Nico, Brew McCoy, and Peyton. They all came out in like a Tennessee Letterman jacket. Peyton suited up, full gear, number 16, shoulder pads, pants, helmet, everything, and came out. It was hilarious.
Well, Tennessee's loving life right now, QB. First time in about 25 years, truly. And listen, they are the real deal on defense, man. They really are. They're strong on defense. And Oklahoma,
they are. I told you they were going to win the game because they're front four.
Well, they had to bench Jackson Arnold. He didn't have an answer. Oklahoma's going to have games like this where they won't be able to score. I don't think they'll score on Texas. I don't think they will score on Alabama. I don't think they're going to score many points against a lot of. I think even Ole Miss may stifle Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, I think, was exposed, but Tennessee.
But Oklahoma's very good defensively.
Okay, that's fine. But eventually that kind of wears away and goes away. And,
I know, but this high-powered offense of Tennessee only scored 25 points.
Okay.
And they struggled.
I mean, that's fair. That's a fair point. But there was never any doubt who was winning that football game. And if you watched it, and I don't know how much you got to watch because you may have been.
I watched the entire game. I was home at 6:30.
Okay, even better. But listen, I think you've got Texas, you've got Alabama, you've got Ole Miss on the schedule. Those are L's for Oklahoma. That's just the way I see it right now. It could change, but I think right now that's what it looks like.
Well, they're making a quarterback change, so things can change. Text on the Titan More text line from Daryl says, "Good morning, Shane. There wasn't any AC in the booth in Starkville. No, well, there's no AC in the booth here at Florida either. But it was so damn hot.
That's crazy
in Starkville.
What is that, QB? What are we in the 60s? What is that? How is there not an AC in the building?
Well, they're not in the booth because it's a booth. It's open air. Like the booth here in the swamp is open air too.
You still okay? All right. Well, I drive a convertible sometimes, and I put the AC on. It's no big deal. It doesn't matter, QB.
Yeah, listen, congratulations to Billy Horschel winning the BMW championship over there as well. Yeah, a bunch of texts about that.
Playing great golf this year, just tremendous year.
All right, this is from Michael in Tennessee. He's a big Gator fan since 86, 87, living in Tennessee. He says, my Facebook profile picks an upside down Gator logo because the Gator Nation is all in distress. It will stay like that until Strickland is gone. I feel Napier's a small part of the bigger problem. Look at Strickland's record for hiring coaches. Strickland needs to either be demoted or let go. On game day, Saban said as much, but you have been saying it for months.
Well,
No, I mean,
Saban basically repeated what we've been saying for years. It's not just months. We've been saying the UAA has been behind the ball for years.
yeah. Well, I've been saying that ever since, let's see, when my kid was in like the 4th or 5th grade. No, he was probably 6th grade. We went to all the places. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
And like I told somebody the other day, when my son Luke went to all the different one-day camps when he was a 10th grader, so that would have been in 2017, we still didn't have a facility. And since then, Alabama has built 2.
Yes, he did say that.
No, we took him to the Alabama game when he was in like the 6th grade. But anyway, regardless, they built 2 of them.
That's
and redone
right.
them.
That was 2010. Right. You took them to that was in 2010. You saw me there.
Chris in Mayaka says, good win on Saturday, but our rush defense is just horrendous. UCF's backfield is going to have a field day on us. I agree.
I mean, KJ Jefferson is going to do it. Yeah, he's not a great quarterback, but you know what he does well. And that's going to be hard to defend. It is. It's going to be a tough game. Very difficult.
Chris from Cottondale on the Titan MR text line. QB, you have been calling for Mizell since August. You have been calling for him since last August, and I have been in total agreement. Billy's system is flawed for UF on offense. We run by you, not over you, which the doesn't agree with on defense. Look, it's funny to me that I get there's a million texts on here, but majority of the texts are about our offense.
Well, they took a touchdown away. They took a touchdown away from Mizell.
Yeah, it was a terrible call. Terrible
call. It's not that was a poor call. These guys have to be graded as well on Mondays and Tuesdays. I hope they are. I think they are. But that was a terrible call. That took away a great play from a kid trying to make something happen for his team. I think it was malpractice.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still amazing to me, even after this game, how many texts I get on the text line and my normal text line about our offense. Look, we are not a prolific offense, but god dang, do y'all watch the game, people?
They watch it.
Okay, well, obviously they don't because we scored 40-something points.
Yeah.
Went up and down the field.
Yeah.
And look, I know people get upset when we run inside zone for a 1-yard gain. Okay. but here's the thing. Last time I checked, Ole Miss runs inside zone for 1-yard gains. Georgia runs inside zone for 1-yard gains. Remember, not every play is going to be successful. Not every play is designed to score a touchdown. But back to the game. Mississippi State is flat horrible.
Just don't have players.
They're worse. They are worse than the old bad Vanderbilt team.
No, it's an FCS roster. It's not even that good. It's not even that good. It's not even that good. And that's a 1-win, maybe 2-win team this year. And maybe that's it. But I looked at their schedule. I was almost thinking to myself, why is this even happening? Georgia, Texas, all these Tennessee on the road. My God, they're going to just have a horrible run. This is a terrible situation for State. But they were.
Norris says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, Jesse Palmer wasn't calling the game Saturday. That's why we won.
Okay, there you go. Well, I'm just JC, glad
you could have made some yards against Mississippi State.
I know I could have.
We could have gave you 34 fullback dive.
34 fullback dive. Let's go. I would have catch the ball out of the backfield too. But I will tell you that it's nice to know, QB, that you finally got to take a plane ride home with some happy guys on the plane. And I
don't know if they're happy. No, people always act like whether you win or lose, the move it's so different than it was when I played because A, there were no TVs on the planes when I played. B, nobody had only a handful of people had a Walkman. You know, if you could afford to go to Walmart and get
everybody's on their own thing with the AirPods.
Yeah, everybody does their own thing. Nobody says a word on the plane. You sit down in your seat and that's it.
That's terrible.
No, I mean but you can't. But there's no hoop and holler. It was like that in the NFL too. All right, Jay. So let's get to our Peachland Dental picks. How'd we do?
All right.
I have no idea. I don't even remember who I picked.
I got it. We were again had some tough losses here. 5-7 for both of us. You covered that UCLA LSU game with only a 17-point loss. I took LSU. That's another team that struggles on defense. But at any rate, you went and I went both 5-7. And the two NFL games we picked yesterday were failures. Tampa Bay and New Orleans both lose outright. So on the year, you're 23-21, which is above 500, and I'm just the opposite, 21-23.
Yeah, it's
not good.
NFL's crazy. That's a crazy. I try to tell people that I played golf with yesterday. I'm like, look, man, the National Football League, there's so much parity, and you don't know what's going to happen in that league. You really don't.
It just blows my mind, though. It is staggering how Carolina can turn into a Cam Newton-led team that went to the Super Bowl with just one switch at quarterback. Is Bryce Young that bad? And here's the thing, JC. Next week, Carolina can go back and get blown out. I mean, the game that jumps out to everybody is Tampa Bay, the way they've been playing, and you got the sorry Broncos winning there and just manhandled. Bo Nix looked like he was just playing in a playground. And Dallas allowing almost 300 yards rushing against Baltimore. Just their offense though is just as bad. And the Saints, they couldn't get in the end zone yesterday. It's unbelievable. They Philadelphia, give them credit. They came in down there and took that game away. Saquon Barkley. But that league yesterday and those games yesterday were really hard to understand. A lot of them, some bad officiating in the Arizona game. They took away a pick six, calling for a 2-minute warning when the clock showed 2:01. So that was a bad thing. And then Kansas City, at the end of the game, is there any doubt that they're not going to get a PI in the end zone when the other team is trying to win a game? And that's what happened last night. Kyle Pitts was mugged in the end zone with about 4 minutes to go in the game. Atlanta going in to take a go-ahead touchdown, first and goal at the 1. He was mugged before the ball was even near him, and they did not call it. Atlanta, of course, then goes for it, doesn't make it. And the Chiefs.
Well, I went to bed at half, but the Falcons scored one of their touchdowns on a BS call on.
Did they?
On roughing the passer.
Really?
It was not even close to roughing the passer.
Well, then it's badly officiated. It's poorly officiated on both sides. And so, we used to go crazy when the officials were on strike and the scab refs came in there. But now these guys are making mistakes that shouldn't be made. I mean, 2:01 on the clock and they blow a call dead because they said it was a 2-minute warning. Arizona didn't play well anyway. They didn't deserve to win. But how about Malik Willis? He's cut by Tennessee. He goes to Green Bay, and Jordan Love gets hurt. He then starts in the next two games, and the Packers look great. Good for Malik Willis, whoever the hell that is. Good for him. Tennessee didn't want him, and he goes down there and wins and beats the Eagles. The Titans. The Giants looked like they looked tremendous yesterday at Cleveland. How bad is Deshaun Watson? He's a disaster right now in Cleveland.
He tore up your team, though, last week, the Jags.
He tore him up. Well, he's not having a good year either. And I think you're right. The NFL is as unpredictable as it's ever been. Seattle is 3-0. Everybody else in that division is 1-2. So that's the NFC West.
Do you see where Patrick Mahomes has won more games in his first 100 starts than anybody in the history of the NFL?
No surprise.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson against the NFC has only lost once in his career. He's something like 25-1 against the NFC as the quarterback for the Baltimore.
Your other team, one of your other teams, JC's in trouble.
One of my other ones.
Yeah.
And that would be?
That would be the Big Dallas.
So I was just saying to you that they allowed damn near 300 yards of rushing offense, and their offense with Dak Prescott, he's got no weapons. And then finally, Anthony Richardson. This is, I know this is a local show, right? So we're going to give you a little bit of info on Anthony. Now, he could be the next Josh Allen, sure. But he's 10 of 20 yesterday, 167 and 2 interceptions against the Bears. And the Colts still won the game. That tells you how bad Chicago is.
Yeah, so, Rod says Caleb Williams looked terrible. I didn't watch any of the game, but I think he played pretty well, didn't he?
Not really, QB. Check it out. They did score. And, again, the job for the quarterback is to win games and get the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
And then
I think Caleb. I think whoever's calling plays for him, they need to make it. They need to add. Again, it's hard to find play callers. I don't even know who it is for them. but I think he's got good skill play. I think he threw for over 300 yards, didn't he?
Could have, but
I'm pretty sure he did.
They didn't play well. He had two. Well, anyway, Minnesota.
He had 2 interceptions. One of them was a Hail Mary. I did see that.
Minnesota's the other team you got to keep your eye on. This Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, has just completely stymied both Houston and San Francisco in back-to-back weeks. The Vikings are disguising their blitz packages. They look really good, and the Vikings are 3-0. That's not something we expected, and I think they will be a threat as long as they stay healthy. If Sam Darnold can play, if he's hurt, he's getting an MRI on his foot today. If he's hurt, that's going to be a problem for them. But he's played outstanding in the first 3 weeks of the season for Minnesota. But their defense is the story, really.
Caleb threw for 363, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Okay, well, that's not a bad day, but it's not a win either. And they lost the Colts. Anthony was not effective. When Josh Allen started at Buffalo, he had a lot of rust, right? He had to kind of evolve himself into what he is today, which is one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the league. And some guys said, well, maybe Anthony's the next Josh Allen. I said, dude, he can't throw the ball like Josh Allen. Not with accuracy. And maybe he's got a strong arm, but that's not the ticket. And the Colts are going to figure this out at some point. I just don't think he's going to be the guy that gets them to the promised land. I don't see it.
Justin says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum QB, I remember when HBC talked about changing his defense to 5 down linemen, and it turned their season around at Duke. It's amazing Florida will not adjust their scheme after 3 years of failure. The only issue if you go to like a bear front, you really put pressure on your DBs. Now, I think Jason Marshall Jr.'s had a phenomenal year through 4 games. I think he's an NFL guy. But some of the other ones scare me to death. Now, I thought Devin Moore got beat on a touchdown, but it was a phenomenal throw and catch. Yeah, he had great coverage. It happens.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
All right, what else did I want to get to here, JC, real quick? Let's see what is on the text line here, on the Titan and Mark text line.
So you're going to watch football on the weekend now that you don't have a game. You're going to actually get to sit around and watch football.
Well, Saturday. Yeah, it looks like this hurricane is going to be bad, JC.
Did you get the latest information on it or something?
Well, one of my insurance guy always sends these updates.
Yeah, it's still so far out. They don't know if it's
going to
hit Louisiana or Florida. It's going to hit Louisiana.
Yeah, but it could ruin the entire weekend.
I see.
Tommy in Savannah says on the Titan and More text line, courtesy of Comfort Tim. Morning, guys. Look on the bright side. We don't have North Carolina's D. Yes. Final from the Dean Dome. Yeah. James Madison, 70.
Yeah.
The Tar Heels under Dean Smith, 50.
Think about scoring 50 points and losing.
Do you know who the Tar Heels defense coordinator is?
I did, but it's not the guy I thought it was, so that's good. I thought it's not Gene Chizik anymore.
No, he retired again.
He retired.
And I was told this on the bus ride back to the airport. I don't know if it's confirmed, but another person on the radio broadcast told me their defensive coordinator is one Jeff Collins, who used to be here.
Oh, yeah, Jeff. And Coach Georgia Tech. He's got a lot of headaches right now. That was the most amazing thing. 421 yards rushing in the first half. Offense, excuse me. 420 something yards of offense for JMU in the first half. My God.
And JMU has a new coach because their coach went to Indiana.
Kurt Signetti, who is 4-0 for the Hoosiers. The Hoosiers, come on, Indiana. Let's go. I looked at that schedule. It's very doable for Indiana until they get to Ohio State. And that game's in Indiana. Not that it matters. But, hey, man, that's kind of cool to see as a team in the Big 18. The Big 18, there's so many damn teams in that conference, QB. I don't know how they keep up with everything over there. But another Big 18 team lost to a team that wasn't invited to a conference, and that would be your Boilermakers losing to Oregon State, who was not invited anywhere. So that was kind of interesting to see. But QB, listen, I'm glad Florida won. They're going to be 2-2. They are 2-2. They got a week off. But, folks, they've played 2 of probably the worst college football teams you've ever seen in your life. But it's okay to celebrate. It's okay to be happy. But, man, you got to figure out how to stop the other teams running the ball. QB, that Mississippi State had they're impotent, and yet they ran the ball through those gaps pretty impressively, I'd say. So that's not something we can be happy about.
Adam says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Shane, would you keep playing Mertz and Lagway, letting them split time and rotate throughout the game? I would not, but
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah. No,
I would play Graham.
Here's Graham. He drives him down. He gets a touchdown. Okay, Graham, we're going to stand right here for a minute.
Yeah.
I know what he's thinking, but look, at this point, get desperate and just try to win and score as many points
Yeah,
as
you
possible.
got to try to win the game. Getting experience is great, but I don't think a little bit here and there really helps a quarterback.
I think
either. You got to play full games.
I agree. Yeah.
So anyway, here's a text on the Titan Mark text line from Larry. He says, Shane, I watched the Ole Miss game, and I feel like with DJ Lagway and the receivers that we have, that Lane would have a field day. You're assuming Lane's going to come here, so I'll answer the question assuming he's coming.
I see.
We don't know what Lane has from what he likes as a quarterback standpoint. You know what I'm saying? He's always got a good quarterback. The receivers at Ole Miss are built a little bit different than our receivers. They have dudes now. I will tell you this, because I watched a lot of their game since it was on TV. I was flipping back and forth and had the 4 games going at one time, which you can do on YouTube, JC. You need to get it.
I guess.
They throw – it's like routes on air because the spacing and where they're hitting post routes and stuff is so precise. It just reminds me of how we used to throw the football here. But they got some dudes on the outside, man. And Jackson Dart's a phenomenal college football player. So,
anyway. You know, he went to Mississippi with 2 other really good quarterbacks to compete for that job. So he wasn't afraid. And Lane knew what he wanted. And Mississippi is going to be in the conversation in this league for the conference championship.
Yeah, they got Kentucky at home this weekend. They're finally playing an SEC game.
True.
We'll see what happens there. All right, this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2018 Tour Championship at East Lake. Tiger Woods wins by 2 strokes over Billy Horschel. That's his 80th Tour win, first in 5 years. But Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup that year for $10 million.
A little bit more these days.
I think it's $15 million now if you win.
What a year, Scott! I mean, think about the year Scotty Scheffler had QB. Even though he didn't win a major, or did he win the major? Did he win the Masters? I can't even remember this at this point right now in the morning. But what a year he had financially. We'll just say that. Incredible.
Yeah, it was a pretty damn good one.
Amazing.
Pretty damn good year. There was a text here or a Facebook Live I wanted to read real quick if I can find it.
He did win.
Not sure.
He's only won the Masters twice. That's right. Okay.
Titus says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. First of all, Jerry says, "Will Lane bring a defense?" That should be. Look, Lane's defenses have not been very good, but Lane. Okay, so I was tailgating with some of my Mississippi State guys before the game, and of course they're wanting Lane out of the state. Yes. They want him gone. Yes. They want him gone.
He's killing them.
They said I brought up Walker. God, I forgot Walker's last name again. He runs their collective, the Grove Collective, former player.
Yeah. All right.
And he said basically they went knocking on doors in the state of Mississippi. They said Lane wants 10 players that will make a difference out of the portal, and we need y'all to raise the money. Well, those 10 players, one was Walter Nolan from A&M. He brought in a bunch of defensive players for the most part. So they went knocking on doors. They raised the money. But my Mississippi State guy was like, please get him out of here. Okay, so this is Titus says, could Billy Napier save his job if he would fire one of the O-line or OC coordinators? Also fire Austin Armstrong and Ron Robertson, go get a big name DC. I don't know.
Well, how about, Frank Frangie said it last week on your show about the talent level of the roster. Remember he was talking about the players?
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised to hear that a little bit from Frank because he follows the Florida Gators quite in depthly. Anyway, he's on top of the scene here, and I was somewhat surprised to hear him say at the on your show that Florida just didn't show the roster that he would expect in year 3.
Well, it's better. It's still
better.
It doesn't compare to the big boys in the SEC, and again, it comes down to winning games and dollars.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like Juice Wells, the wide receiver at South Carolina, I don't know what he was making at South Carolina. He was their main guy. Now he's just one of many receivers at Ole Miss. So you got to win games.
But look, to get the money, I think in Gainesville, and we talked about this last week, QB, the Gator fans want to see wins before they commit anything else anymore. I think they've waited long enough. I just believe that. I don't think you're going to see folks just pour out their wallets and their time unless they start seeing wins. I could be wrong. They love their Gators. Everybody loves the Gators, but they also they left in that A&M game for good reason too. So I don't know.
Well, like I said, if you get the right guy, people will donate.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's all it is, then we've got to decide who's going to hire that guy, because the one that we have hiring guys today is 0-2. You want them to go 0-3? Strike 3? You're out? I mean, is that what we're doing?
I agree. But Jeremy also was 0-3 in his hires.
Well, but Jeremy had tenure and he had success.
No, I know. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Sure. I get it. Sure. But I mean, it's got to be a splash. And that's the thing. To get a guy that qualifies as a splash hire, that guy's got to be confident that where he's going, Florida, is stable. And I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
All right. We got to get to Scott Carter, JC. Have a good day. Go root for your Jacks tonight. That's JC on the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Take a quick timeout. We'll be joined by senior writer Scott Carter, talk a little Gator football.
All right.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing,
Florida, victorious.
Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogra State Farm, Electronics World, F45. Our touchdown sponsors, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Miapa Latin Cafe, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild.
If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. We're going to head to the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by senior writer, FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. How we doing, my man?
Good morning, Shane. Got a little bit of rest yesterday after that long Saturday, man. I hope you did too.
That was a long Saturday, I ain't gonna lie. Those early games in the Central Time Zone suck. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Scott, it was a hot day. Gators played pretty well for the most part against a really bad football team. Still can't stop anybody, but offense did what they had to do.
Yeah, I thought the offense, the 2-quarterback system that Billy Napier has installed, I think it worked to kind of ideal situation in the game against Mississippi State. Obviously, Graham Mertz started and was hot from the early going. You could tell he was in a rhythm. The offense found the rhythm, scored early. And then DJ Lagway, filled in nicely when given the opportunity. And I thought that was the key. Also, the offensive line. And again, Mississippi State's defense is not going to put a lot of fear in people, but I do think the Gators' offensive line did its job pretty well on Saturday. So that was a step up on that side. But overall, the offense, I thought I answered the call. You got a lot of guys contributing in the backfield. Jacoby Jackson had a touchdown. All the guys, Trayon Webb, Montrell Johnson, Jaden Ball, I think they all, had opportunities. And then the young receivers, Aiden Mizell, I thought, even though they didn't count, I thought he had a couple of the best plays of the game. Unfortunately, they're wiped out, but I think he's showing some promise that he could be a part of the future. And, Jim DK has been a nice addition too, Shane. So I thought we saw a lot of good things on offense. The defense, still a lot of question marks.
Yeah, real quick, just to answer Kevin's question. If Foley was the AD, but Bernie Matchen's the one that brought, from everybody that I've talked to, Bernie Matchen's the one that brought Urban here. So it really doesn't matter at this point. Andy's question for you, Scott, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mello. Can't the coaches see that all the defensive substitutions are causing chaos and confusion?
Well, I do think that's kind of playing into maybe what Billy said after the game. Maybe we got to coach better, and maybe we're going to be playing different people. We need to play different people. So, that's open to interpretation, obviously, but I do think they're still trying to figure out some things defensively because, running guys in and out like that, you can just tell between plays. I'm looking at Des Watson and a couple of those defensive linemen through my binoculars, and they're constantly looking over at the sideline almost right when the ball snaps. And, by that time, you need to be locked in on your task at hand. So, that's just something I noticed. I don't know how much of a concern or issue that is, but it will be interesting to see what they do there. But I think overall the defense just still it was not very good against Mississippi State. You gave up 480 yards, and you just can't do that. I think about 200 and some rushing. You're going to have to tighten up, whether you're playing UCF, Kentucky, any of these games coming up. Tennessee, we saw what they did to Oklahoma. So you're going to have to play better defensively to give yourself any chance to be in a game. And that's whether or not the offense can duplicate what it did on Saturday,
Yeah. Dan, I love Central Time Zone. Grew up in it. It's the best time zone there is, but not to play football games. 11 a.m. is too early, in my opinion. Jerry's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. QB, did you feel that Montrell Johnson's block was a crackback block on Mizell's TD? I did not. I even said it on the broadcast. The guy looked right at Montrell, and it was not a penalty, in my opinion. What do you think, Scott?
No, I agree. I know by letter of the rule, maybe it was. I just think it was no reaction because after the block, you saw the Mississippi State guy. He fell back and hit his head. If he doesn't hit his head, is there a flag there? I don't know if they call it out, but I thought it was, you used to see that block all the time in football. And I know what they're saying is what a real crackback block is or a blindside block. As you guys just mentioned, the guy was running head up toward Montrell. Unfortunately, they called the flag. Again, I think it was because of the kid falling back and hitting his head. Then it took a little while to get up. But no, it was unfortunate because it really took a great play. I thought that play by Mizell, that was like about as good of a run that I've seen a Gator receiver make since Kadarius Toney's days.
Yeah, agreed. Mark asks says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Bell, or this is YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. You say Mississippi State will win 2 to 3 games. Where is the third? I didn't say that, Mark. I said they may win one more game, which would be 2 for the year, and that would be UMass. But they will be 30-point plus underdogs in every game they play, in my opinion, the rest of the year. They're like a 38-point underdog going to Texas. And Texas can name the score. It will be that bad because they're going to have to
also,
start it. They're going to have to start a true freshman at quarterback now that Shapen's out. It's just a bad football team. It's bad. Text on the Titan Mar text line says, Shane, does Scott Strickland ever go on the plane with the team to the away? Yeah, he does fly on the team. I don't see him. Me and Scott are stuck in the back by the toilet. Ron Roberts told ESPN broadcasters that the defensive players on our team don't believe in each other. What are your thoughts on that comment? I've not heard that. Did you hear that, Scott?
that's news to me. You saying Ron Roberts said that?
That's what the texter says here, that he heard. He told the ESPN broadcasters that the defensive players on our team don't believe in each other. So what do y'all think about that?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, that must be, if they said that, that must have been on the broadcast from the production meeting, which obviously I didn't hear because I didn't see the game on TV. I find that kind of surprising. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard that, so it's hard to really make a comment on it whether it's fact or not. I just if that's what he sees, if that's true, but yeah, that's an issue. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So we got one here from 215. It says, Shane, what are your thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach if we can't get Lane? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about coaching searches right now. Just enjoy your 2-2 off week, getting ready for the UCF Knights. Let's just focus on that right now. Scott, when's the last time an offensive lineman scored a touchdown for the Gators?
Well, you got to go back to 2010, Gary Beamer.
2010?
Urban's final season. It was my first season. That's why I remember it. And Gary Beamer, they gave him a handoff late in the game. He was a former walk-on and just one of those great team guys. So Gary Beamer was his name. So it's been a while. But yeah, before then, don't ask me. I have no clue. But it was pretty funny after the game. We're sitting there in the press conference, and they just happened to flash that up on the screen, and Austin saw. You probably maybe saw some clips on Twitter or something. It was a pretty funny moment. But yeah, anytime one of those big guys score a touchdown, they're going to remember that forever.
Yeah, painted up. He'll get the ball painted, and he'll have it on his mantle for the rest of his life. Pretty cool stuff, no doubt about it. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. We got Scott Carter, senior writer, FloridaGators.com, on the Titan More Hotline. Somebody just sent a it's not coming up yet. It'll come up in just a second. This is from Chris on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. He says, Shane, what are your thoughts about what Buddy Martin reported that Urban and the HBC would be willing to serve as consultants to the program when they move on from Napier? I didn't know anything about that. Have you heard anything about that? I don't believe that. Not saying Buddy's wrong, but I don't see Coach Spurrier willing to do any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that either. Obviously, a consultant, that's one of those terms that can be applied in a lot of different ways. I mean, do you ask him, like, what's he think of this coach, or what does he know about this coach? Maybe he gives you a little feedback there if he knows anything. But yeah, I don't really see that being any part of the process. If they do make a change there, it's just, Urban and Spurrier. I mean, obviously, legacy coaches, great at times as Gators. So fans naturally are always going to kind of call back on them or media because of the success they had at Florida. But I think whatever happens here moving forward, it's a new day, and you've got to tackle it as a new day because the Gators are in a very critical position right now for the future, I think.
Okay, so here we go. Marshall says, let's make Bill Belichick the head coach or the assistant head coach, and Spikes is our head coach.
Yeah, well, it's a lot harder than that, fellas. I mean, these guys who are coaches who are getting it done, you don't just come in and flip the switch. You've got to have a real structure and you got to have players. You got to have really good players first and foremost. I think sometimes, that kind of gets lost.
Scott, from an injury standpoint, coming out of this game, somebody sent me a picture of Aiden Mizell in a boot after the game. I don't. A lot of guys, maybe twist an ankle or whatever. Anybody else banged up that you know of?
Nothing that I remember. I mean, if Mizell, he may have tweaked his ankle. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. But yeah, nothing that I know in terms of if you're going to be banged up, it's a good week to be banged up. Obviously, you got some extra time to get healthy. But I think hopefully we'll see some of the guys who have been out back against UCF. So it is a good time for a bye week, I think, with how the injuries had piled up before the Mississippi State game.
Dan's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law. How long will Trey Wilson be out?
Yeah, it's kind of a unknown right now. I mean, obviously, some kind of knee injury he's dealing with. You've seen all the speculation out there. I think they're hoping to get him back for UCF, but we'll see. I mean, you just like Montrell Johnson. He had the same issue or a similar issue in camp, and he was ready for the opener. So hopefully they can get Trey back within that time frame as well.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where being a wide receiver, as much as he has to put his foot in the ground and plan or whatever, who knows? All right, Rick says, Saban said, why would a guy come to your school if he's not going to be a better person? He's not going to have a better chance to be successful in life. He's not going to have a chance to play or go to the NFL. I don't know what Saban said. I didn't see any of that. Look, every kid thinks they're going to go to the NFL. Let's put it that way. Every kid that goes to college thinks they're going to play. And what is it, Scott? 1% of them are going to get a chance? Something like that?
Yeah,
I can't remember this.
Very small. Very small. It's just very minuscule. That is the nature of a college coach, especially managing those expectations and managing the expectations of advisors, parents, uncles, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, few make it, and it's probably getting harder than it's ever been, Shane, for coaches with the NIL era and these guys coming in maybe a little more even entitled than in the past. So I get it, but I don't know exactly what the point there was from your reader.
I don't either. 31 Ember says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Montrell looks like the third best back on Saturday. Montrell does not look as quick as he did last year, in my opinion. Trey Webb runs extremely hard. Ball runs hard as well. I think they all do something a little bit different. I'm still a KD Daniels guy. I think he's electric, but we won't see him probably play this year. Just your thoughts on that, Scott.
Well, I like the way that the guys played Saturday, the running back specifically. I mean, I love the way Jacoby Jackson runs. He's a hard runner, kind of goes and he can make some cuts. Ball and Weber both, good runners. I think Montrell, he doesn't look quite as sharp. I think probably whenever you have that, he had his knee injury and scope. I mean, it still takes a little time to maybe get back to full speed, not only physically but mentally. So I don't know where he is. He hasn't really addressed that, but I do think that he's still working his way back to top speed. But I think they're okay there regardless. I mean, if Montrell is unproductive or not able to play, I think they've got good depth there. So I don't think it's a concern. But you like to see Montrell, get better as the season goes on.
This text says, let's just enjoy being a 500 football team. This is the last time we will all be this excited all year.
Yeah,
Could be.
The schedule, we still play 1, 2, 5, 6, and 14 in the rankings. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough schedule. There's no doubt about it. The only unranked teams they have are 2 of the next 3, UCF and Kentucky, and then of course Florida State by the end of the year. And who knows? Maybe they'll get ranked by that time if they can bounce back. But I'm curious just to see UCF first. That's the one, because I think that is that's going to be a big game for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, UCF plays Colorado in Orlando this weekend and then head to the Swamp. We don't know game time yet, right, Scott?
No, I think that should come out this afternoon. That's when TV,
Okay.
I think, usually will put that out.
All right. Last thing before we let you go. This is from Billy on the Titan and Mar text line. Scott, can you tell us what the Gators' plans are during the off week?
Well, I know they gave them yesterday off, and then they'll get back into the obviously practice this week. They usually will have the weekend off and then get back in the game week. So I think just from listening to Billy after the game Saturday, I mean, they're still in a deep evaluation process of doing things differently. I mean, everyone knows the urgency level right now around the program. He knows it. I think they're trying to still figure some things out defensively, whether or not that's rotations or personnel. They're trying to get some guys back. So I'm sure you'll have some, guys getting treatment and, trying to do everything they can to get ready for UCF. But ultimately, I think he said we are what we are. We know we can coach better. We know we can play better. That's the goal. So I think that's the mentality they're carrying into the bye week. I mean, there's going to be no, a different practice approach or a whole reshuffling of anything. I don't think about it. It's in season. So like you said, you've got to work with what you have, but can you do things better? Certainly. And I think they're still trying to figure out what some of those things are.
Yeah, and Brian's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Shane, do you think we have a shot against UCF? Of course we have a shot. Here's the thing that concerns me the most. Graham says, let's hopefully get the defense going during the bye week. You are what you are at this point, in my opinion. So UCF is leading the country in rushing right now. They were number 2, but I guess with the new stats that just came out, they're number 1. This ain't UCF playing in the American League or whatever, American Conference. They're playing in the Big 12. So they're playing big boy football. We ain't going to stop them running the football. I mean, I don't know how we can. I think you have to make KJ Jefferson throw the football. I don't think he's a very good thrower. So you have to roll the dice. You hear Bill Belichick talk about it all the time. You got to try to take away what the other team does best. If they have a legitimate wide receiver, you double team that guy, and then you put your best defender on their best receiver. So we have to do something to try to slow their run game down, because, folks, if Mississippi State ran for 240-something yards on us, this team is way better than Mississippi State. Would you agree with that, Scott, or am I crazy?
No, I agree totally with what you said, because we saw this play out last year in the Arkansas game with KJ Jefferson. I mean, he's a dangerous runner himself, and then you add in the other elements they have in their offense. And I don't know how you do it with this Florida defense, because when you look at it up front, they just haven't been able to make plays there. But you got to do something different. You got to be at a premium on your tackling. You just have to prevent the running game to get from getting to that second and third level, and that's going to be a very, very tough task. I think Jefferson, if you put him in throwing situations where he had to throw 30 times, I think your chances go way up. But even getting to that, it's going to be a Herculean task for the Gators defense from what we know of it. But that's they have an extra week to work on it. So if you've ever had an extra time or needed extra time, I think this is a great week to have that. And then you just hope that they maybe get some of these guys back, or either get better production from the ones they've been playing, because they're going to need it, I think, to all the points you just mentioned.
Yeah. Scott, appreciate your time, my friend. Enjoy the weekend off. Don't go on vacation and not come back, Scott.
I'll be there, man. I'll be at the UCF game and riding it out, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be A lot different than the UCF Florida games I remember of my youth. But you know what? It's still interesting, and we'll see what happens at the Swamp.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, my friend. That's Scott Carter, senior writer, FloridaGators.com. Electronics World, integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment. Affordable local installation service and support at electronicsworld.net. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.